You know, when you look back at the grand sweeping history of men's international soccer, there's this one very persistent ghost that kind of haunts every single team that manages to reach the absolute pinnacle of the sport.
Oh, absolutely. The ghost of Brazil.
Exactly. It's a ghost from 1958 and 1962. Brazil. That was the last time, literally the only time in the modern era, that a men's national team won back-to-back World Cups.
It really is. You know, it's the ultimate Mount Everest of international football. I mean, to win once is already legendary.
Right.
But to defend that title 4 years later,
Right.
that requires a level of sustained excellence, tactical evolution, and honestly, like a massive stroke of luck that we just haven't seen in over 60 years.
Over 6 decades of history practically screaming at these teams, you cannot do this. And yet, as we gear up for the 2026 World Cup here on North American soil, Argentina is stepping onto the pitch to look that ghost right in the eye.
They really are.
So welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we are putting the reigning champions under the microscope for you. We've pulled together a massive stack of sources, from deep tactical scouting reports and updated global betting odds to confirmed roster drops. And yeah, we even dug into some highly passionate, slightly unhinged soccer Reddit threads.
Which, I have to say, are always a goldmine for understanding how the fans are actually feeling versus, what the spreadsheets and data say.
Oh, for sure. The goal today is to give you the whole picture before they actually take the field. So we're going to explore their massive cultural identity, break down the tactical evolution designed to protect their aging superstars, look at the fresh faces brought in to patch some glaring roster holes, and give you a forecast of how their specific style matches up against the diverse challenges of Group J.
Because honestly, if you just look at the names on the roster without understanding the tactical machinery underneath, you're really only getting half a story.
Okay, let's unpack this. Before we even look at a single X or O on the tactical whiteboard, you have to understand the emotional weight this team carries.
Yeah, you can't ignore it.
Right. If you just view them as 26 professional athletes kicking a ball, you are missing the point entirely. This team is a cultural phenomenon.
The emotional stakes for Argentina are unlike almost anything else in world sports. You see it in the way the fans react, the way the players talk about the shirt itself.
Yeah, they are famously known as La Albiceleste, which translates to the white and sky blue. The jerseys literally mirror the Argentine flag. So when these players put that shirt on, it evokes this overwhelming sense of national pride and unity. It acts as a visual reminder of home for millions of people around the world.
It's a huge deal.
But recently, that deep emotional connection has birthed a new nickname. And from what I'm reading in our sources, understanding this new nickname is absolutely crucial to understanding their current success.
Right, you're talking about La Scaloneta.
La Scaloneta. It is plastered on banners, it's trending on social media, it's just everywhere. If you aren't familiar with Argentine slang, it's a brilliant play on the head coach's name, Lionel Scaloni. They combined his name with the suffix eta, which is often used to denote a vehicle, like a van.
Yeah, a van or a wagon.
Exactly. It implies affection, but it also physically means get on the bandwagon, like you are riding in Scaloni's van.
And the reason that nickname matters so much is that it represents a massive psychological shift for the entire nation.
Because before Scaloni took the wheel, the narrative around the Argentine national team was just incredibly tragic.
Oh, it was completely defined by heartbreak. They had this dark cloud hanging over them for years. I mean, crushing knockout stage losses in the World Cup, losing multiple Copa America finals in a row on penalty kicks.
How painful.
There was a genuine belief among fans that they were just straight up cursed. But Scaloni came in and completely rebuilt their internal culture. He stripped away all the ego and forged this incredible airtight unity.
And the results really speak for themselves. He led them to win the 2021 Copa America, the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, and then the 2024 Copa America. Our sources show Scaloni currently boasts an absurd 70.65% win rate.
That number is almost unheard of in modern international football.
It's crazy. It feels like looking at a tightly knit family business that was just falling apart, bleeding money for years, and then the patriarch Scaloni comes in, sits everyone down at the dinner table, and finally gets the whole family working together toward one single goal.
That's a great way to put it.
But here's the major red flag I keep coming back to as I read these scouting reports. Relying on a great family culture is super dangerous when your star players are visibly aging.
Yeah, that is the central anxiety heading into 2026. The miles on the odometer are really adding up.
Let's look at the core veterans, specifically the captain, Lionel Messi. He is entering his sixth World Cup. He's 38 and will be turning 39 during the tournament. And the reports noted he recently had a pretty scary injury moment where he actually asked to be subbed out of an Inter-Miami MLS game. Now, Scaloni confirmed the initial scans weren't too bad and Messi is cleared to play, but still, you can't out-tactic human biology. 39 is 39.
Well, you can't out-tactic biology, sure, but you can build the system designed to hide it. Protecting a 39-year-old Messi is the puzzle that dictates Argentina's entire setup.
How so?
Well, Scaloni knows Messi cannot cover ground the way he did a decade ago. He just can't. So he has built a very specific midfield engine to physically insulate him.
That engine relies heavily on two guys, right? You've got Enzo Fernandez, who acts as this incredible metronome, breaking defensive lines with his passing. The data shows he completed over 87% of his passes at the last World Cup, which is just wild efficiency. And alongside him is Rodrigo de Paul. De Paul is fascinating because he just finalized a highly publicized $17 million transfer from Atletico Madrid over to Inter Miami.
Right, he specifically moved to the MLS to play alongside Messi full-time.
Yeah, so they are essentially building off-field chemistry every single day.
De Paul is essentially Messi's bodyguard on the pitch. His physical work rate is just phenomenal. And of course, we can't forget the backstop of this veteran core, the goalkeeper, Emiliano Dibu Martinez.
Oh man, the absolute master of the dark arts during penalty shootouts.
He really is.
Argentina actually holds the record for the most World Cup shootout wins with 6, and Martinez is a huge reason they are so feared in those moments. Though it's worth noting the injury reports show he is currently playing through a fractured finger he sustained playing for Aston Villa in the Europa League final.
Yeah, goalkeepers playing through finger injuries isn't totally uncommon, but it's, another crack in the foundation. But to circle back to your point about the aging midfield.
Yes, the eye test versus the stats.
Yeah.
Because as much as the analytical reports praise the efficiency of these veterans, I was scrolling through the soccer subreddits, and the fans are seeing a completely different reality. There was one highly upvoted comment that really stuck with me. A fan was complaining about bringing De Paul to the 2026 tournament, saying, and I quote, "Bro runs like others do in a Legends charity match 10 years after retiring."
Ouch. That is a brutal assessment.
It's incredibly harsh, but I have to push back on the tactical optimism here. Are fans like that seeing a physical decline that the pure data is missing? Because when you watch them on a standard broadcast, they don't look like the fastest team on the pitch. They sometimes look kind of sluggish.
What's fascinating here is the disconnect between fan perception and tactical reality. Fans watch a player like De Paul not sprinting coast to coast like a traditional box-to-box midfielder, and they instantly assume his legs are gone.
Right.
But the scouting reports detail exactly why that's happening by design. Analysts refer to it as Argentina's liquid system.
The liquid system. Okay, it sounds cool, but what does that actually look like on the grass?
So on paper, they line up in a 4-3-3 formation. 3 forwards, 3 midfielders, 4 defenders. But out of possession, the moment the other team wins the ball, they fluidly shift into a very compact 4-4-2.
Okay.
That midfield trio we talked about, De Paul, Enzo Fernandez, and Alexis McAllister, they drop back and form a tight bank of 4 right in front of the defensive line.
So they essentially build 2 parallel walls across the width of the field, just choking out any space for the opponent to pass there.
Exactly. It's an elite high-intensity shield. And by building that shield, they relieve Messi of almost all defensive duties. He just stays up top.
Wow.
This is the genius of the liquid system. It allows Messi to operate like a chess grandmaster. He doesn't have to make exhausted 50-yard solo sprints past 5 defenders to win the ball back anymore.
The scouting report actually used a brilliant phrase for this. They said Argentina uses Messi like an atomic weapon. He just casually walks into these dangerous, quiet pockets of space while the shield does all the dirty work. And the second that midfield wall wins the ball, they immediately feed it to him. From there, he kills you with a lethal set piece or a mathematically perfect through pass.
Right. So to answer that Reddit user complaining about De Paul's lack of running, De Paul isn't supposed to be doing 60-yard sprints. His job is strict positional discipline. He is a brick in the wall. The system prioritizes structural efficiency over flashy, exhausting runs.
That makes a ton of sense. But relying on 3 or 4 guys to do the defensive running for an entire team is, frankly, an incredibly fragile setup.
It is.
If one of those shield players is out, the entire liquid system collapses, right? Which brings us to their vulnerabilities, because looking at the roster emissions, they are missing some massive pieces from their recent runs.
They are. The generational phase-out is happening, whether the fans want to admit it or not.
The biggest absence, without a doubt, is Angel Di Maria. He retired from international football after the 2024 Copa America. Our sources emphasize that losing him strips the team of their best natural width and their ultimate big game outlet.
It's a huge loss.
Whenever Messi was double-teamed in a final, Di Maria was the guy sneaking in the back door to score the winning goal.
Losing Di Maria forces a total tactical recalibration. In modern soccer, width is everything. If you don't have a player dragging defenders out to the sidelines, the opponent just packs the middle of the field and suffocates you.
Exactly.
You also have Paulo Dybala, who was left off the roster entirely by Scaloni. Scaloni stated they love him, but they have to look to the future. Plus, Dybala had a season heavily disrupted by knee injuries at Roma.
They also cut the highly touted Real Madrid teenager Franco Mastantuono. And just days ago, defender Leonardo Balerdi had to withdraw due to a calf injury.
Right.
That opened the door for someone like Guido Rodriguez to step in, providing some tactical insurance for the defensive midfield. But the defense itself, the Reddit fans are definitely not wrong about this part. It is getting old.
Very old. Nicolas Otamendi, at 38, is an absolute warrior in the air, but he severely lacks recovery pace.
Yeah.
If an opposing team manages to slip a pass through that midfield shield, the Argentine backline is highly vulnerable to fast, over-the-top counterattacks.
So put yourself in Scaloni's shoes. You have no Di Maria to stretch the field, an aging Otamendi who gets beat in foot races, and a 39-year-old Messi who literally does not track back on defense. How do you patch a boat with that many leaks?
You have to bring in fresh blood.
Exactly. And this is where the integration of the new guard becomes the most critical storyline of their tournament.
Precisely.
2 names really jump out from the scouting sources for you to keep an eye on. Nico Paz and Valentin Barco. Paz just had an incredible season, leading his club, Como, to Champions League qualification for the first time ever. Yeah. And Barco is a highly dynamic wide player, making a massive move to Chelsea from Strasbourg.
What's crucial for you to understand here is that these young players aren't just on the roster to ride the bench, soak up the atmosphere, and take photos with Messi.
Right. They have a job to do.
They are highly specific tactical band-aids for the exact problems we just outlined.
So if Di Maria is gone, they've lost their natural width. I'm assuming Barco is stepping in specifically to hug that touchline and physically stretch the opposing defense horizontally.
Spot on. Barco provides exactly that dynamic width from the left side. He can deliver dangerous crosses that force the defense to spread out, which in turn creates those central gaps Messi needs to operate.
Oh, that's clever.
And Nico Paz provides elite, creative short passing in the center of the pitch. If the veteran shield of DePaul and Enzo gets heavy legs in the 70th minute, Paz can step in, operate in tiny spaces, and keep the ball moving.
It's like replacing the worn-out gears inside a vintage watch with brand new, high-tech titanium parts. You get to keep the classic face of the watch Messi, but the machinery inside gets a total upgrade to keep it ticking.
It's the perfect way to look at it. They inject verticality and pace right into the areas where the older core is starting to fade.
All right, so all of this theory is fascinating. The cultural aura of the van, the liquid system protecting the atomic weapon, the titanium parts of the new youth. But it's all about to be tested in the real world. Let's look at the actual gauntlet they have to run in Group J.
Let's do it.
And instead of just reading down the calendar, let's look at this as an evolution of tactical challenges. Because if you look at the draw, the opponents are uniquely designed to test every single weakness we just talked about.
It is a tactically diverse group, though.
Right.
Honestly, logistically, they caught a huge break.
They really did. They play their first game in Kansas City, and then their next 2 games are both at AT&T Stadium in Dallas, so they get to set up a base camp, avoid time zone changes, and minimize travel fatigue, which is huge for an older squad.
Massive advantage.
But let's look at the actual on-field challenges. Let's start with the speed issue. We know Otamendi is vulnerable to a foot race. What happens on June 16th when they face a team built almost entirely on physical counterattacks like Algeria?
Well, Algeria, a 2-time African champion, will undoubtedly target Otamendi's lack of pace. They aren't going to try to outpass Argentina.
Right.
They're going to sit back, wait for a mistake, and launch direct, long balls over the top for their fast forwards to chase down.
So how does the liquid system handle that? When I read the tactical report, it mentioned deploying a mid-block. For anyone who isn't a licensed soccer coach, when you say mid-block, you essentially mean they are giving up the Algerian half of the field, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
They are just drawing a line in the sand right at the center circle, forming their wall there, and daring Algeria to pass through it rather than chasing them all the way up to the penalty box.
Exactly. You don't press high against a counterattacking team because it leaves way too much open grass behind you. Argentina will sit in that compact mid-block and use DePaul and McAllister to aggressively choke the passing lanes.
Gotcha.
If the Algerian midfielders have a defender constantly in their face, they don't have the time to look up, pick a spot, and launch that long ball. You protect Otamendi by cutting off the supply line at the source.
Okay, so you neutralize the speed. But what happens on June 22nd against Austria? The sources highlight this as their toughest challenge because Austria does the exact opposite. They don't sit back. They deploy a highly aggressive, high-pressing system.
Austria is relentless. The moment Argentina tries to pass the ball out from their goalkeeper, Austria will have 3 or 4 players sprinting at them, trying to force a panic turnover right in front of Argentina's own goal.
Imagine trying to play a delicate pass while a swarm of angry bees is instantly surrounding you. That's what a high press feels like. It's designed to induce panic.
And to beat a swarm of bees, you need players who possess absolute ice in their veins under pressure.
Right.
This is where Enzo Fernandez's press resistance becomes critical. His ability to calmly trap the ball, pirouette away from 2 defenders, and pick a forward pass is the antidote to the press. Furthermore, you need Julian Alvarez up front making relentless, exhausting runs off the ball.
Why is that?
Because his movement will pull those aggressive Austrian defenders out of position, creating holes in the swarm for Enzo to pass into.
You essentially have to tire the bees out by making them chase shadows. Okay, the final tactical puzzle is June 27th against Jordan, who are making their World Cup debut.
As debutants going up against the defending world champions, you can confidently expect Jordan to deploy an extreme defensive low block.
Which means they are going to park the bus. For you listening, picture 10 opposing players standing entirely inside their own penalty area, shoulder to shoulder, completely blocking the goal and basically daring Argentina to find a way through the crowd.
Exactly. And parking the bus is incredibly effective if the attacking team is predictable. You can't just launch hopeful long balls into a crowded penalty box. The defenders will clear it every single time.
Right.
This match is exactly why Scaloni brought in the youth. You need surgical precision to pick a lock like that.
This is where Barco hugging the touchline comes in, right? By staying super wide, he forces 1 or 2 of those Jordanian defenders to step out of the penalty box to guard him, which instantly creates a tiny gap in the middle.
Yep.
And then Nico Paz uses his short passing to thread the needle right through that new gap.
It requires patience and immense technical skill, which those young players were specifically brought in to provide.
So when you synthesize all of this, what does it mean for their chances? When you look at the global betting markets we pulled, the odds makers have clearly digested all of this tactical theory. Argentina are overwhelming favorites to win Group J, sitting at -250. And globally, they are sitting at +900 to win the entire tournament, making them the 5th favorites overall behind European powerhouses like Spain and France.
Which, considering their pedigree over the last 4 years, presents a very compelling value proposition for anyone looking at the odds.
It really does. So to recap everything we've unpacked for you today, we are looking at a squad completely revitalized by a cultural phenomenon, La Scaloneta. They are anchored by this highly fluid liquid system that is specifically engineered to hide the defensive liabilities of an aging Lionel Messi by surrounding him with a high-intensity midfield wall.
Yay.
They've aggressively patched up their glaring lack of speed and width with exciting new youth products like Paz and Barco. And they are facing a very manageable yet tactically diverse Group J in the United States.
On paper and on the tactical whiteboard, it sounds like a flawless recipe for a deep tournament run.
Yeah.
But, and this is a big but, this raises one final crucial question. And it's something I want you to really mull over as the tournament kicks off.
Lay it on us.
For the last 5 years, the entire emotional engine driving this team was fueled by the chase. It was about winning the World Cup for Messi before he retired. It was about breaking the decades-old curses. It was about silencing the brutal critics after all those painful losses. They played with a chip on their shoulder the size of Buenos Aires.
They maintained the desperate mentality of an underdog, even when they literally had the best player in human history on their roster.
Exactly. But look at them now. They have won absolutely everything there is to win. The Copa America twice, the World Cup, the Finalissima. The desperate hunger of the chase is naturally gone.
Yeah, that's true.
When they step onto the pitch in Kansas City and Dallas, they aren't the hunters anymore. They are the hunted. Every single team they play in this tournament is going to treat that match against Argentina like it is their personal World Cup final.
Because everyone wants the glory of being the team that slays the defending champions.
Right. So if a physical team like Algeria catches Otamendi sleeping on a counterattack, or if Austria punches them in the mouth early with that relentless high press and they go down a goal, they don't have Angel Di Maria to bail them out with a miracle strike in the 80th minute anymore.
Oh, wow.
Will the psychological magic of La Scaloneta hold up under the incredibly heavy, exhausting crown of being the defending champions?
That is a phenomenal point. When the chips are down and that ghost of 1962 Brazil is whispering in their ear, do they still have the raw fire to fight back, or does the comfort of having already completed football soften their edge? You can't measure hunger with stats, and you can't plot desperation on a tactical whiteboard.
You only find out when the referee blows the whistle.
Well, I want to thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Argentina's 2026 squad. As you watch the tournament unfold this summer, keep an eye on that liquid system. Watch how those young titanium parts patch the aging machinery, and keep questioning the simple narratives you hear on the broadcast. Because predicting if a team can defy 60 years of history, ignore the heavy crown, and replicate the magic of 1962 Brazil, well, that landscape is delightfully, beautifully murky. We will see you next time.